it's time to get things going. It's going to be Inferno, of course, big from HELLRAISERS, and we will see Maniac soon. Again, after the game, of course, with some more analysis, because then he actually knows what has transpired, and of course, he can then tell us what we might have said wrong or read wrong, because there might still be things that, from his entire career, his experience, he knows better than us, which, well, we would assume to be so.
Wow, you're really going all in for the compliments, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Are you hoping to be treated to dinner tonight or something?
You never know.
All right, well, we'll see now. The knife does go to Heretics, so that is a solid start coming in for them. And we'll see now if that's a solid start that Heretics need to really prove themselves here on, of course, Inferno, the first map that we're going to see today.
Well, you would say that then at least they will be able to get a good start in. However, HELLRAISERS in their early game, quite often quite strong, as yet another chicken dies.
Aww.
And yet another. RJ?
It's like they've been listening, you know? They know they have to do it to get you.
I'm now going to bank on HELLRAISERS because Heretics just killed 2 chickens in front of my eyes.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to let the chickens go, man.
No. I'm going to go home. I'm going to boot up Inferno all by my lonesome. I'm just going to spend time with the chickens.
Aww.
Or I might buy a farming simulator and do just that. We never know. It's time to get going on towards the pistol of this first map. Heretics taking on HELLRAISERS. Of course, this being HELLRAISERS, their map pick, they should be stronger. Yet, looking at the win rates, RJ, they are exactly similar.
Yeah, and that is kind of the interesting situation here. You know, it's an equal playing ground. You could say Heretics, well, they've played Inferno like more than 3 times less than HELLRAISERS have. HELLRAISERS, of course, they've played this map 32 times in the last 3 months, whereas Heretics only 9 times. But still, they post the same win rate, so it shouldn't make that much of a difference. We'll have to see it now in a moment, really, how that turns out. The pistol round, always a decisive start, and we do see that it gets opened up by HELLRAISERS quite well. We see Lime and Kalinka, they're both getting a frag in, and that makes it so that Heretics now are facing a 2-man deficit, even though they did, of course, win that knife round and get to start on their preferred CT side.
This might just be some over-aggression to come in from the side of Heretics. Kiyoshima now also falling back, but he's a little bit worried for CT, as of course also one of his mid players has fallen. And he might be expecting players to have moved through CT and of course Archway, because they don't have any cover, any knowledge there from those CT side. Then of course HELLRAISERS just moves in as a unit, because they know they have 2 players more, and it's easy to just go in and go for that execute. Utility flies out towards that B side, and the player Kiyoshima has actually fallen back in towards CT because he's still worried. He gets a kill regardless, all towards problem, but there will be smokes in the way. Bomb to be planted, nothing he can do about it, as of course he will be waiting for the rest of his team for that rotate, and possibly even the retake.
And we'll see now if that retake will actually work out. They only have a 1-man disadvantage. That's workable. You just need Kiyoshima to get one of those lovely 1-taps in, and then they could actually push on to the side. Don't have a defuse kit, though, and Kalinka just fragged that knife error. Kiyoshima, though, there's that 1-tap I spoke about, but they do not expect Lime coming in from the side, coming from Ruins. And with that, HELLRAISERS do now take the pistol round, so that's off to a good start for them on Inferno. I was almost going to say nuke, but that's still quite a ways ahead.
Yeah, that's only the 5th map, don't worry. As, well, usually you do see a force buy coming out from the CTs in this situation, and indeed they will. Theoretically speaking, it's most likely better to go for that force buy, because if you just do 1 eco and then buy in the next round, you won't have as much utility. And one thing we have talked about so many times on Towards Inferno is that utility is key, and therefore Heretics will be buying some utility in this round. We'll do an eco in the next if they do manage to lose, because you never know with those Eagles. And then after the eco, they'll have a very good full buy with most likely 1 or maybe 2 AWPs.
We'll have to see indeed. You make a solid point. You never know with those Deagles. We've seen some amazing 1-Deags in this competition so far, and I don't think us being in the semifinals suddenly means that there's going to be a stop put to those. But to see now, JR, he tries to go for that engagement. A little tag up. Now that is a very close spray there. Goes for the first and the second frag with, I think, his last bullet, or maybe even a collateral.
Well, it was indeed a collateral before he actually had a very good flick on towards XMS's head to bring him to low HP. And from that point onwards, it was quite easy going. You already see a player from the HELLRAISERS side in towards CT, holding up the angle, going in towards Library, as of course they do expect the players from Heretics to save. The bomb will be planted, there will be no contest coming out from the French side, as, well, those Deagles, the armor, and of course also the MP9 will be more valuable still in the next round than just running it into a possible Mach 10 kill.
Absolutely, you know, get an exit frag here or there. You'd hope there's this engagement now between Maka and JR. In the end, Maka does come out on top, but now Lime here coming in from Library. Unexpected. Maka did not see that coming in the slightest. That makes the 2v4. And I'd say that now Heretics is feeling frightened. They might be getting hunted out here by Lime, and indeed goes for that spray down. Very close, but Kiyoshima does manage to escape by the, well, skin of his teeth, although I dare say that they're going to push them further, and problem here might become a problem. And indeed, we see him getting the first frag. Nivera does get a lovely 1 dig down, but that makes it now the 3v1, and of everything that they try to recover, they only keep that Deagle and full armor.
At least it's something, RJ. We have to stay positive. They did get 2 kills as well, so that's at least a little bit more influx of money. Now we do see a full eco to come in. Of course, it's not really what you want in this stage of the game. Well, you know that on your first buy round, you can maybe bring it back. They are just opening up the B side, no problem whatsoever. And Heretics, they didn't even go for a rotate. They figured if we lose it, we lose it. We'll just try to make do with what we have, as there will be actually 3 frag grenades coming in. Kiyoshima, Nivera, and XMS both picking one up, and those nades will go towards Banana. However, there will also be some nades returning from the Hellraiser side.
We'll have to see now. They're going to come in, I believe, in but an instant, although they're waiting out the prime opportunity. And, oh, Lime there. He gets the speak in, and Nivera does refrag him, but you look disappointed.
And they went for the nade stack on, or at least behind a little bit of a wall, and it could work out. But yet there has to be a player pushed up close, and you don't always do that quite easily against an eco round. At least 2 kills came in for Nivera. He now has still a Deagle in armor, has given an AK towards XMS, but look at JR. He's just pushed through CT again, and he's standing by, he's waiting. He's just expecting the players to eventually move back in, but they're trying to save 2 AKs, and with 2 AKs, they don't have to buy him 4, and that saves them a lot of money in the next round. JR, of course, wants to punish. He gets 2 frags in with the Mech 10. That's good money, at least being gained by him, as XMS has 1 extra exit frag, and then, of course, will go down. 3-0 for HELLRAISERS. Nothing really saved on the Heretic side. But still, we will see that first full buy with most likely an AWP on towards Mecca. And I'm not sure if Nivera will go for one as well.
Yeah, we did see that pincer movement here sort of coming in, and just can see that in the replay now. JR, of course, also was absolutely a wonderful Mac 10 fight putting up. XMS could throw something a little bit back, but it really doesn't end out with much more than that. HELLRAISERS so far, they got that pistol round, and they've made it quite the solid start, I dare say. You know, we see them already posting a 3-round advantage, and I wonder how long they're going to extend that for.
We do see actually 3 people starting early on towards that B side. As Lime will be mollied off. Of course, they don't really go for a commit on that CT side because there's no real reason to peek. You don't know how many players will be there. You know they will be peeking and most likely destroying you, as there will be a nade going down. But Mecca with the opening frag regardless on towards Lime. He goes for a re-peek, I do believe, as they do really want to gain this control. But there's a player lost. He wants the head. He will get a headshot. And it's going to be JR also denied, in the AWP on the Hellraiser side also to be put down. Still 3 players standing, however, and with those AKs, an headshot would do the trick, and we've seen it many of times that even a 5v3 would be lost by the CT side, over-aggressing every now and then.
Oh yes, it's the classic mistake of thinking, oh, but we can peek in, right? We've got a 2-man advantage, so why don't we just peek in? But then you get that problem of, oh, now we have a 1-man advantage. Oh, but I'll peek in. Oh no, we just made it an equal ground. It's 3v3. It's something that has happened so many times before, and you just hate to see it happen. This is the way. Lucky in. Oh, good position. Double kill. Make it not a triple, because Kalinka does end up refragging him. And now we see a 4v1. That was a almost risky play, I could say, by Lucky, but in the end he did get those 2 frags out of it. So
well, he had to. He had support from Mecca on the AWP at the guard position. He was flashed out, so Lucky, of course, had to fight. The unfortunate thing was that Mecca didn't really dare to re-peek, because the problem was he's on low HP. The moment you peek, one bullet will do the trick. And Lucky already out of ammo, can't really support him either. So it was Mecca just leaving his friend to die, hoping that they could at least get the refrag later on, as there will be now that first round for the Heretic side. At least it's one. Maybe the start of many, as of course there will be a very good buy from the Frenchies. And still a little bit of a buy from the Hellraiser side as well. There will be a CZ, a P250, a Mech 10, and then a Galil and AK. So it's not that great, but it might still just do the trick.
I'll have to see what they make work with it, but I do believe that they have somewhat the equipment advantage. Heretics being, of course, over HELLRAISERS. I'll see that's a very rapid execute actually coming in from HELLRAISERS here onto
There's
the side.
only one player actually standing by, but the rotate is coming in quite quickly from Kiyoshima. Problem takes down Mecca, however, and that's now the A side completely gained by the Heretic side, or rather HELLRAISERS. As players just go for the flames. Apparently there wasn't a flare, but Kiyoshima has now gone low. 12 HP for himself, as it will be that 4-on-4 situation. Alton's coming in, but that player, why would you be crossing like that? There's no reason. Flares wanted to most likely recover that AWP dropped by one of his teammates, and that nade could have actually sealed the deal onto him, but will now tag up Kalinka. Flares with the low HP, at least that AWP will make sure that he could get a frag. Yeah, his response time will have to be rather quick, as the time is being wasted almost by the Heretics side. Flares takes the first frag on towards Lucky, completely blinded out. And now Nivera is pushing up, he gets 2 of his own, has a problem, takes on 1 on XMS, and on towards Nivera as well. That means Keo in a 1v2 is already running for his life, because there's nothing really to gain anymore. He knows the round is over, he knows they've lost, and, well, in the next round they'll just go for another buy. It won't be the greatest, but Kiyoshima can drop 1 on towards Maka, most likely an AWP, or just something else, whatever he wants, and, well, it won't be an AWP because he's already spent some money on some utility. So now I'm wondering, will they say, alright, Maka, go for an M4, or Nivera find the AWP for him, and don't really have that much to work with?
I do believe that they will probably... Oh.
They're going for an eco? Oh, that's interesting.
That's
they could have forced it out.
Yeah, but
they do want to go for the saber approach. That also most likely means that there will be a 5-1 lead in the Hellraisers side of things.
Yeah, that's pretty much a given here, because you're only really seeing, you know, 1 Deagle, 1 CZ. Kiyoshima already tagged up to start things off with, and that is not the start that Heretics are looking to get here. I'll just see now if after this round, Hellraisers will then hold on to that advantage and keep it coming, or if it is going to be Heretics that do throw it back. Kiyoshima having that AK, kind of the player that they might want to focus on a little bit. But we'll see right now if Heretics can at least deal some decent damage here to Hellraisers. That is, I believe, the best situation, you know, the best outcome that they could be hoping for.
We do see Flash just using his mollies as well, trying to gain some control on towards A. Yeah, there's quite a few players on towards A long. There will be 4 to be exact. This one now moves on towards the side as well. This might be an over-rotate from the side of Heretics, of course, just Hellraisers trying to get mid-control and possibly to rotate after. Lime now takes down 1 player, it's XMS, actually the player on towards the B side. That means they could have a free entry, yet they don't know. They will go for this stack. However, Lucky on the side has gone down. Nivera now with 1 refrag on his own. JR trying to fall back with the bomb. If they would have gotten him, it would have been an easy round, you'd almost dare to say. But it's Kiyoshima once more on this lonesome. A 1v4 going down to the AWP of JR, meaning indeed Hellraisers will have that 5-1 lead.
I do feel like, you know, Heretics didn't deal as much economy damage there as they could have. It felt like they kind of wasted an opportunity here or there, and with only 1 player going down on the Hellraiser side, that does also not bode too well for their, well, you know, or well for Heretics, their pressure that they can put on Hellraisers. You can see it, you know, how now with Hellraisers, the team money is starting to build up a little bit. You've got JR, he's close to 5,000, and the rest of the team, they do have a few thousand now on their banks, you know, so to speak. So there's an opportunity there. Hellraisers can now keep the pressure up, but if Maka there throws it back, that's a solid frag to start the round with. Maybe this is the Heretics turnaround, especially as Flourish there goes for an engagement that he could have maybe known that he was probably going to lose.
The interesting thing is as well that now Maka will go down, but JR actually going for a very aggressive and slow angle.
Yeah.
Whereas normally as the T-side operator, you will always have the advantage. Yet, now Kalinka's trying to move up towards that side. There will be a dink onto his problem, but there's 2 players actually in towards this pit area. As Kiyoshima takes down problem with his nade, leaving only 2 members standing on the Hellraiser side. 1 through Archway, actually going down in Archway. As Lime now moving up towards A, will try to contest as well. Still those 2 players towards the pit. One of them has been spotted. Now they try to play a double angle, and Nivera just has the spray down. That means 2-5. Heretics slowly coming back into this. But they really need to string together a few rounds, because the last time they lost against a force buy from Hellraisers, and it was just same old story.
Same old, but indeed, Lime there sadly couldn't make much more happen at the end of the last round, and now we'll see if Heretics can build up their own momentum, really, start their own little streak that we do like to see. But you can also notice that on the Hellraiser side of things, it's not ideal, you know. You hate to see Flourish, for example, running just the CZ. You kind of want to tell him, like, oh, but here, you know, you deserve better, especially for trying to be that solid, well, in this case, obviously, he can't really be that solid anchor that you kind of expect him to be, that role that he does kind of excel at a little bit. JR here for a moment. Looked like if he had pressed that, you know,
Mouse
just
button.
that mouse button, just that left click for a moment, that would have been some serious damage.
Well, sometimes it just works out in your mind, yet it doesn't really work out in practice, as Flourish has been naded up quite early on. Going to 61 HP, yet he's the only player to actually not carry a rifle. There's 2 AKs, 1 AWP, and then a Galil and CZ. At least they have now gained banana control. That means you have a lot of room to work with, being AT, and that means you can still go towards A without actually Heretics knowing all that early. However, now we do see smoke coming down quite deeply on towards the wall, and they'll try to contest, try to get some control back themselves. Yeah, JR still trying to be boosted over that smoke, looking on towards an angle, more towards sandbags. Yet no real contest coming in from Heretics. They're just trying to waste time, try to play control, and see how HELLRAISERS will respond. They do shoot in some bullets, and oh, Kalinka, your timing is off! And he will go down to Nivera without dealing all too much damage. The rest of the HELLRAISER side will go toward the B side. That's a great spray to answer from Lucky. Gets 2 kills of his own, the bomb still being dropped, but Flourish currently now with a picked up AK in that church area. He's trying to move in, but Kiyoshima will be standing by to cover his teammate, as there is actually a smoke from the HELLRAISER side to block him off. They do know where the last player is, and that's a clean round to come in from the French side. And as Maniac said, they're really strong on Inferno, but apparently it just takes them a few rounds to get going.
Yeah, you know, it's sometimes you have that with several teams, that they need to get into the swing of things. You know, they can't immediately be expected to perform. So with this now, HELLRAISERS might have gotten a slight taste of victory. But for now, Heretics are definitely working on that comeback movement. You can also see right now how HELLRAISERS are basically just forced onto an eco, and they can't really do much more. They have to try and battle it out with the Glocks. And we'll see now. This is probably a guaranteed 4-5 for Heretics, but the question is, are they going to actually make it the equal score in the round afterwards?
That's going to be the big question, because of course in the next round there will be a buy again coming in from the side of HELLRAISERS. They don't have all too much money. Their loss bonus isn't all too great. So they'll just have the basics. AKs, armor, a little bit of utility. Oh my god, Flourish.
I'd say they're almost doing it to mess with you now.
Oh, most likely.
You know, would they have listened back, you know, thought like, oh, how are they...
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, what are these commentators saying about me? What are they being nice?
Well,
maybe
I said very nice things about Flourish, but that's done.
It's over now.
Yeah.
He completely broke.
I'm gonna send him a text and tell that I'm breaking up with him.
Ooh.
Not that we had a relationship, but still I'm gonna break up with him regardless. Nivera takes down the first player. That's Kalinka falling. And he was an instrumental part for HELLRAISERS so far in their matches. And now losing him, also losing JR, doesn't make it a lot easier. XMS, however, is still the soft target. He doesn't have head armor, but he just gets a second frag regardless. Now see sprayed out coming in from Kiyoshima. Clean as can be, having a little bit of support from Mac, I believe. And now we have a 4-5. HELLRAISERS will be able to buy. They will have those AKs. They will have some utility to work with, but they won't have that AWP on towards JR. And now the question will be, is that going to be key? Is that going to be a losing factor? Because it also depends on that level that we now do see from Heretics, if it will work out in the early stage of a round.
Yeah, we'll have to see that, because JR with that AWP, he can get those early opening picks, you know, onto top mid there. If you can frag out that player immediately, it's already a bit of damage dealt to the Heretics side. But this time around, we're not going to see that coming in. We see Lucky here, though. He is holding off that angle. And we'll see now, it won't really be contested, because the HELLRAISERS players are deciding to, well, go for apartments this time round.
Well, the smokes are already coming in quite early, and indeed an apartment push will come in. There will be rather still two Galils. Kiyoshima is trying to spray down, but he goes down himself. Nivera takes one before falling to Kalinka as well, meaning we have quite some strong side control coming down from the HELLRAISERS side. The rotate from Heretics will be a little bit late, because of course they didn't really see this one coming. And that means they now most likely will go for a save, looking at their positioning. That's awkward, because now HELLRAISERS gets yet another round. Yet they also know that their opponents most likely will be able to rebuy. This is all due to Heretics not playing the map really into a controlling stage. There was that AWP of Maka actually standing at archway. Can't do much, you can't really see mid, you can't really see them coming. The players around apps, Kiyoshima still on the balcony, Nivera in pit, they didn't see anything coming until the utility was there. And that really makes it very hard for them to go up against many players, even with lesser weapons. The numbers game might still be in their favor, and it seems to be just that for HELLRAISERS, now getting round number 6, surviving with 3 players, and that means one has died to the bomb.
Yeah, that was Flourish, I think?
Either one.
That's just a bit of a that's a
We've
shame.
seen that many times
Yeah,
in
but
this tournament.
like, I mean, it's just it's that kind of those little micromanagement things, you know? How can you let such an oversight slip in that you actually do just lose a player like that, especially for HELLRAISERS, you know? Right now, they were forced on an eco like 2 rounds ago, so why are they going to throw away money like that now? Because you can see it as well. It's not exactly like they have that much of it to go around. We'll see now what they make due of it. Maka here flashed a bit further back, but problem. Oh, he crosses successfully.
He's jumping
Maka
over.
now, indeed, they both know the both AWPers leg tag even on problem there. You can see him just skipping away right as his foot got shot off.
You see Kyoshima being boosted on towards the roof. Of course, an easy frag on towards problem as he was tagged up. Nivera will be helping him out to take care of JR, leaving only Kalinka alive in 1v5. He's easily to be dealt with as Nivera once more will just get a frag, and now also the upgrade to the AK. A lot of people might be wondering, because we highlighted before this map started, Nivera and Maka, very strong op duo. Yet Nivera is a side anchor on towards Pit around this A side of Inferno. That means 2 AWPs on the same side doesn't really work out, as Maka is more flexible, most likely also peeking towards mid. Then you have to pick one of your B players to be that opper. XMS, a very strong rifler, whereas Lucky apparently also transitions really well into picking up that AWP.
Well, you like to see it, you know. It's always a good thing if your players are versatile, if they can easily switch their roles around a little bit, because you do need that sometimes. And Mac here once again gets the pick on JR. Nivera here could be a solid hold, and indeed makes it 1 and 2. 2 players go down by his hands, and now it's only 2 players even remaining on the HELLRAISERS side.
And this is such an odd buy. JR saving a little bit of money to possibly go for a op later on, as Nivera will be helped out by Lucky. The AWP comes in, but eventually he does still lose his life. But Lucky easy to refrag. Losing only 1 player to a semi-force, I dare to say, from HELLRAISERS. That's still quite good, and now they've equalized the score 6-6. And so far, when we've seen Inferno in this tournament, it's quite often a little bit T-sided. And this time again, you just see HERETICS playing it to perfection with those AWPs. That really shows how strong they are with those opening frags. And that's maybe also a reason why HELLRAISERS is saving a little bit more money onto JR, making sure they can actually counter that off with an AWP of their own. And I think that's going to be key in the rounds to come, after, of course, we see yet another eco from the HELLRAISERS side.
And now these nade frags along with Lucky, following it up. 4K making an ace.
Well, Flair's just quite a while away as he gets the 1 nick on towards Kyoshima. Blood smeared across that bedroom. Quite sad. I wouldn't hope to sleep in there, as we do now see Flair standing by. I think they're taking the time, hoping a player will over-aggress, and of course now also taking the time as a little bit of a tactical timeout without having to stop themselves. Flair's once more spotted out. 1 tap coming in from Maka, and that means now the favor, or at least the lead, for the first time goes in favor of HERETICS. The odds on FighterG, of course, always in their favor because they are theoretically the stronger team. However, the win streak from HELLRAISERS might spell trouble later on. Here's those nades just coming in, blown into pieces for the first 2 players, and Lucky, well, he doesn't even need any support from XMS, and he just makes it work anyway. Still the double AWP, and now we do see that AWP come in from JR, yet he misses the head armor. But luckily for him, HERETICS, most of the players at least, have also an AK.
I believe the technical term is blown to smithereens.
Oh, yes.
Just like, you know, like they said in the older days of pirates and sailors. Anyhow, though, HERETICS now get their 7th round in, and with that, I believe that there's a very solid chance that they are now going to be, well, ending this first half on potentially an 8 or even 9 rounds going to them. Also, of course, I do see HELLRAISERS now. They have a solid enough buy, not that much utility, but still they can make it work, and we do see that they've already tagged up Nivera quite a bit with the Molly.
Yeah, he stood in there a little bit long because he figured it wouldn't spread to him, and no problem. How the hell did you get here? I think maybe some flashes are moving through Archway, now trying to get 2 opening frags. He will get 2 indeed. Beautiful headshots from Problem. And that means now the A side is pretty much open to be taken by the side of HELLRAISERS. In Graveyard, there will be 1 player. Kyoshima can only get 1 frag, however. Meaning, most likely, we will see yet another save coming down from the HERETICS members still alive. There is still 1 more round to be played out, so maybe with all the money they have, they figure we just go for it, because on the last round we still have enough money, but JR is just a little bit too strong now with the AWP, bringing it back to an equal score of 7-7. And then at the end of this first half, who will be the team in the lead?
I do wonder that, you know, because right now we're going to see the full buy coming in from both sides. Heretics, of course, as you say, they had so much money that they didn't even care almost because they could just peek in and it didn't matter. But once again here we see a very, very key play from Problem. And like you said it, you know, how did he get there?
Because probably some flashes.
Yeah, because before you knew it, he was just already in that library room. And well, I do assume indeed that he managed to cross there, go via Arch, and then go, well, just a leisurely stroll around. Maybe he picked up a nice book on the way.
Well, sometimes you just need to read a little bit, as the nades are already being expended quite heavily by the Heretics side. Lime quite low, 25 HP, as he then goes down to the last nade of XMS. Him and Lucky already expending quite a bit, but at least they have gained some control, have gained that opening frag. But now we do see a little bit of a slowdown. HELLRAISERS needs to force something somewhere, yet they don't really know where at this moment in time. JR takes down Lucky as he over-aggressive with the AWP, and JR now drops the bomb, trying to fall back, or at least go for an aggression play against XMS, who's picked up that AWP. Now going towards New Box, and JR is still hunting. The rest of his team now also following suit. It's XMS moving towards the coffins, and he is not being spotted, and now he actually has a good angle, but JR, Problem, however, just having a decent follow-up, which does mean there's a very likely chance that we do see this round go in favor of that T side and HELLRAISERS to take the lead after this first half.
We'll see now indeed that, well, oh, JR here, he can get one of those last frags in indeed. And that leaves only Nivera, who sadly doesn't stand up much of a chance now as that bomb ticks down. Yeah, I do, oh, wow. Okay, JR, easy now. You know, you could have just waited for the bomb to explode. You didn't have to really bring the point home that hard. But, hey, that is HELLRAISERS now coming in with that, well, one round advantage at the end of the first half. And, additionally, on their T side. You know, Heretics, you'd think, okay, they got the knife round. They should now definitely, you know, have a somewhat CT side advantage, right? But not much of that CT side advantage really came to show.
No, it didn't really help too well for him, and that's something we've seen many of times so far. The team's not really playing too well on the side they pick. Often the T side actually goes in favor. But let's see what they can do on their own pistol on the T side, because the first pistol round went in favor of HELLRAISERS. Heretics now trying to bring it back to an equal score, and from that point onwards, they'll have to contest, of course, a force buy. Yet HELLRAISERS, they'll just be using those USPs. And of course, Lime with a P2K, as he's a little bit different. And maybe it will just work out as we do see Lime moving in with a P2K in towards Apps, trying to contest second mid, and there will be a player there. Yet the rest of the Heretics members, they will go towards, of course, none other than B.
A good old B rush. What not better to start a T side off with? Although you can't really call it a rush anymore because they're only now just
they're slower
it.
as can be.
Yeah. We'll see though if Problem can hold this off, and I do believe that there's a player there on the boosted spot, and that's always an interesting one because we've seen that spot get ignored at times, but maybe, you know, if Problem, his taps are on point, they won't even get that far. See more utility. Yep, and there we go. There's those smokes coming in. Problem through the smoke. Kalinka, though, comes in now. JR here still has the opportunity to come in clutch. But now they... Oh, they didn't... Oh, no. Oh, they didn't notice this.
There's a silencer for a reason, RJ, and that makes the gun silent. Lucky, however, now with 1 HP. Against, of course, 3 players together with his friend Kiyoshima. One at new box, one still standing in dark, and there's no picked up defuse kit on the side of HELLRAISERS. Kiyoshima goes low, but Lucky peeks in, he gets a frag of his own, now it's back to a 2-on-2, and they don't really need to over-aggress like this. And by them over-aggressing, they now lose a player. They're trying to play it out in their way, but now only 9 bullets will be remaining in the magazine of Kiyoshima. That's all he has. Now gets the first one. No, he runs out. And that means that the round will go once more in favor of HELLRAISERS. And I do understand in a certain regard that Heretics keeps going for those peaks. They want to at least slow down the HELLRAISERS push, playing some time. Yet it also makes them quite vulnerable, especially looking at the HP on Lucky, who only had 1 for himself. That means now we see 2 pistols being won by the CT side, and most likely HELLRAISERS to win yet another round, as it seems as if Heretics is doubting if they want to force, and maybe they just go for full eco and AKs after.
I'm just looking at the track record of HELLRAISERS here as well, you know, when they played in that second quarterfinal up against Fate, and, well, the last time, when they lost the knife round, but they got both the pistol round and the, you know, on both sides, they won
there might be chances they're playing tic-tac-toe. And so far, it's Heretics just taking the slow game. JR takes down Kiyoshima. That's the opening frag. But, well, do we really need to commentate on opening frags against a Nico with an MP9? It seems so clear-cut and so simple. As Lucky with his Deagle might be the only one to really bring something home for their team, as there will be 2 Glocks on the remaining players. Problem will be covered off quite well by Lime as he gets the frag on towards Lucky, with now only Nivera left standing in a 1v5. He's looking to find him, and eventually JR will get the frag instead of Problem, who actually got dinged towards 7 HP. 10-7, double digits now reached by the HELLRAISERS side. There's a very likely chance that Heretics might be able to bring it back with this AK buy, because of course they're playing against a bonus round. 3 MP9s and 2 M4s.
And with that, you've got a pretty solid chance coming in for Heretics. We do see Maka eventually buying that AK after a little bit of waiting. But now we'll see what they can do against HELLRAISERS. This is their final chance, or well, their first chance really, to come back now in the second half. We'll see if they can actually do that, though. HELLRAISERS, they do still have the double digits now and that whopping 3-round advantage. Not to be underestimated as you're getting closer and closer to the end of the first map.
Indeed, HELLRAISERS do have some reserves of their own. However, a lost round might not indicate that they could easily rebuy. They at least need to save some weapons, and preferably then of course also those 2 M4s. Heretics so far just not really over-aggressing. They're trying to wait out for a mistake to come in from HELLRAISERS. Most likely expecting them of course to still run those MP9s, and players with those weapons are often quite aggressive. Want to force the issue, want to force the opening kill, and hopefully upgrade or just fall back regardless and at least have the advantage.
I'll see now whose side the advantage is really going to go to, because right now we don't see any deaths just yet. It's still a 5v5. We can see a push coming in now along with some utility. That support is important, but still no one really pushing onto the site just yet.
They're just waiting. There's still a player at long. He's just holding the angle, but with the MP9, not really the best weapon to contest. Lime, however, has an M4. He takes on Kiyoshima. That's the opening frag now in favor of HELLRAISERS, as there will be the execute now coming down. XMS leading the charge on towards long, spotting out players possibly later on, but it's Flourish from the pit area. And Lime also standing here. Those 2 M4s actually at the same side is quite a hefty risk, but it still works out as the combat stack is now getting some frags. Lime with a follow-up, now leaving only 2 MP9s left, but look at the time. There has to be a plan from Maka, and that means that Kalinka can just push in and try to contest him. Plan comes in just a little bit too late. That means we now have the 11-7 scoreline in favor of the CTs, denying the first buy round. Problem, however, wasn't able to upgrade his weapon, but there will most likely be an pistol armor buy from the Heretic side, so there's a very good chance that MP9 will still result for some money.
Yeah, definitely seems like the most sensible thing now, but it has to be said, you know, when they do go for that pistol armor now, I start to worry a little bit, because that is still looking far more favorable for the HELLRAISERS side. And indeed, you can see it here, pistol armor coming in with a little bit of utility in the hands of Maka and Lucky. But I do wonder what they're going to do to make this work out now, because it's HELLRAISERS who still have a serious weapon advantage. Maybe they can bank on some really aggressive peaks. That could work out for Heretics, but they could just as well be punished for it.
Well, I actually saw quite some aggression coming down from the HELLRAISERS side, already taking quite deep control of Banana. The third player there is actually now already fallen back. That's Kalinka, currently in library. And he hears this noise. He knows he could go for a spray down. He takes out Lucky as well, as there will be Lime Flares. Everyone steps up. And that's quite a concisive win. Only Lime going down. That's 1 rifle drop, but still, that's quite a convincing route. And look at the lead now. 12-7. 5 rounds ahead. Now up against a new buy round, of course, from the side of Heretics. For those AKs, will they shine through? Will there be an AWP on towards Maka? I dare to say that's something they might need. However, Heretics doesn't really play that aggressive as of yet. They're just playing the side. They're just holding off until the execute comes, and they know their crossfires are good enough to work with.
Yeah, but still, I feel like they could maybe use some aggressiveness to actually try and get onto a site in the first place, because right now, with how slow they are playing at times, with how much they're delaying and they're not really trying, they tend to just not even get onto the site in the first place. Maka, by the way, he does open up this round well, so could be the chance...
No!
Oh, there goes the chicken. Could be the chance for Heretics to finally win a round on their second half. Of course, they did go into this second half with, of course, still 7 rounds. Kind of hope that they would make it happen, and indeed Kalinka there gets fragged out by XMS.
Oh, the B split possibly, as the bomb is still currently at bottom of banana. They're waiting for possibly an extra frag to come in, but actually the B side, it is open. There's nobody standing there as Lime now goes down. The remaining players are actually towards A, with Nivera now actually taking a second, leaving only Flourish alive, but they don't really know where he is. Most often, however, he's playing towards the A side, so they do have a hunch. And now, actually, the bomb goes towards A. That means they might run into some trouble, might lose a player, but XMS, he's always at the ready. 12-8. Heretics indeed winning their first T-side round. And it took them a few rounds to get going, but now they're at least surviving with 5 players, building some money for themselves.
Yeah, and that is one of the more vital things in this situation. Building up that money and getting those reserves going, because otherwise, I'm afraid, well, Heretics might lose out on this potential momentum that they just captured in but a one fell swoop, I could say. We'll see now if they do hang on to it, or if it is just going to be HELLRAISERS that take it back now right away after they just had to throw away one of the rounds.
Well, the odds are currently in favor of HELLRAISERS, but if Heretics does get a few rounds in return, that of course will most likely go back into their favor. Lucky has been tagged up slightly by an Incendiary. However, doesn't really do too much for him as there is no real threat as of yet. Possibly still though that AWP from JR looking towards mid will be flashed out. Now flashes out once more. And he has to move back on towards the fountain. There will be a smoke from Lucky that's a little bit too deep, so there might still be a chance for JR to spot some people, yet it doesn't work out just yet for the HELLRAISERS side. So it will be that A execute. XMS and Nivera, great sprays to come in. And of course now also the bomb plant. And well, you see it from the get-go. Safe as well for HELLRAISERS. They were able to push through banana. Yet it doesn't work out. And then they just go for the save. There's no reason to risk it because they don't have money anymore.
Exactly, you know, it would be very silly of them to actually try and go for this, so it is the most sensible decision to make. And with that, we see Heretics now grabbing their 9th round on this second half, and then perhaps working to come back a little bit now to show that, okay, we had a bit of a bad start on this second half now, but that bad start, that was only temporary. Right now, we're going to catch back on that bad start, and we're going to say this is a new chance.
Build some momentum, baby, because once more, they're staying alive with 5 people, unless if someone, again, walks too close towards the bomb, but that doesn't happen. And 12-9, the lead of HELLRAISERS is diminishing every round, it seems, and Heretics is building more and more money, something we also saw them do quite well. And towards the end of that first half, it just didn't really meant that they were able to get that win in the end, or at least the lead by just 1 round. It is now JR, of course, the AWP to enforce to save B with it. And now you're doubting, would you force some SMGs with this? Or would you just go for an eco? And they're just calling the tactical just to talk things over.
Yeah, indeed. I find that a difficult one as well to say. You know, you've got those 2 M4s, but yeah, I would say maybe just go for those SMGs, just to try and equalize it out a little bit and make it your give it your best shot.
Ooh, a FAMAS being dropped by JR, and I believe he can still buy another. And that would mean that Flash also has a FAMAS, or he actually drops an M4. That's even better. That's a FAMAS, 3 M4s and AWP on towards JR, which is currently on the floor, don't worry. That means they have a very decent buy-in towards this round. Looking at the utility, 4 smokes, 3 incendiaries, 4 flashes, 3 nades. Still quite doable as well. It's not the max, but it's still quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's pretty close to the max, as a matter of fact. It's not the best, it's not amazing, but it's a pretty solid chance. We'll see now what HELLRAISERS will effectively do with that, though, as we are about to get into this next round. I do believe that HELLRAISERS have this potential now, from what they've shown, that they can actually end out on top here. But honestly, I mean, I would have almost expected Heretics to really pull off better here. You know, they've got the equal win rate. It's both 56%, but not much of that is showing right now.
JR with wallbang shot on towards Mecha will bring him to 25 HP. Nades, of course, to follow up, yet not really dealing any damage, as Kyoshima does know that there will be a player going towards that hallway, trying to spam it out. Flash falls back on towards pit, and there will be, of course, a double peek from the Heretics side, hoping to, if there would still be a player, get a frag in. Currently on towards the 22nd round already, and there might just be an opening frag for Kiyoshima if a player from the A side will overstep. But Lime will spot him out. That's a clean frag to come in. And even with the FAMAS, the least favored weapon on the side of HELLRAISERS, it still works out quite wondrously.
We'll see now if this one-man advantage that Heretics, well, has sadly lost, so to speak, or well, the one-man advantage that HELLRAISERS actually have, perhaps better put, with,
That's
oh dear.
a attempted run boost to go for the boost.
Yeah, that's not quite it.
You have to strafe, apparently, to also go to the side and then actually get on. JR will be boosted normally, and he goes down to Nifera. The bomb will be planted, it's at 4 on 3, and there is a little bit of a flag coming down from bottom of Banana, but Maka standing by. Of course, low on HP, 4 HP to be exact, and now make it free. As luckily for him, he only got 1 tick of damage. Now Lime is trying to move up and do something in return, but Maka, he's always sneaking in. He wants to get an exit frag. But as we say in Dutch, the bird has flown away.
I believe the English equivalent is that ship has sailed.
Indeed, but I like birds flying away.
Aw, yeah, but what about, well, chickens can technically, can they fly?
I've never seen a chicken fly, so I wouldn't know if...
No, they can't. No. Oh, wow, I'm thinking about ducks, I think. Wow.
Yeah, ducks, chickens, they're the exact same.
No, they're not the same, but this is just my knowledge about birds really shining through here, you know? It's, I feel, yeah, let's just move over. Let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
So let's not, like, I'm not going to dig this hole any further. Heretics, though, now, they get their double digits in, and HELLRAISERS, they are still 2 rounds ahead, but they are fast, losing their advantage. At one point, it was 7 to 12 for HELLRAISERS, you know, in their favor, with, of course, them having that 5-round advantage. But right now, you can see that shrinking. You can see it slowly but surely turning away. And it is interesting to see. You would have expected a bit better from them. JR already gets tagged up quite a bit, thanks to that utility. Nivera, though, he gets tagged up a little bit himself as well, but considerably less. Oh, but problem, that is an aggressive peak, buddy.
But he also goes solo. There's no real
backup.
reasoning, because Kalinka was possibly standing by, but it doesn't help him out, and that's all the utility on the B side gone. And only 1 player still remaining. And that's now Kalinka, already being tagged up himself. Lime sees a smoke pop on towards mid from one of his teammates. Wants to go aggressive, but as there will be a flashbang coming in from Heretics, he has to fall back. Now we do see that stack from the Heretics members going towards the B side. And look at, actually, HELLRAISERS saying, we have to get out of here.
Really?
Yeah, they don't want to stand on the B side anymore.
Get the hell out of Dodge, as they say.
Oh no, Heretics.
But the Heretics is faking it out, so it's no problemo. They're just going to go to that stacked B side. Why not? Or to that stacked A side even. That's just a damn shame.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's just...
This is the best gamble rotate I've ever seen from HELLRAISERS.
It's, you know, it works out.
Well, will it work out, however? The first frag goes in favor of Lucky. Only 3 members remaining on the HELLRAISERS side. Make that only 2. As Lime also falls. JR on the side gets 1 and Flares as well with a follow-up. Make that a double. Now we have a 2v1 because only Maka is alive in a 1v2. It is Heretics throwing things away, as we do see that 13 to 10 scoreline come in, and this was a very gamble rotate, but it worked out.
That is just... I was certain, actually, that Heretics still had a good chance there, but the moment they tried to get onto the site, they just got fragged out completely. Quite decisively as well, you know. As you can see, you know, HELLRAISERS, they actually preserved quite a few team members, and of course, as a logical result, quite a few weapons. And now we can also see that double AWP coming in there now. And maybe that does mean double trouble too.
Ooh, you never know. At least they save those weapons. At least they have a very good full buy. But the same goes for Heretics. As we said before, they're really good at saving their economy. They have some very clean round wins. And thus they have a full buy. Looking at their money for now, if they lose another round, still a decent-ish buy. I think they could still drop some weapons on towards Kiyoshima. So it will be a good dink through the wall on towards JR. He will be even wallbanged a little bit more. Towards around 30 HP. That means HELLRAISERS might be in trouble, but with the AWPer still alive, there might still be an opening frag. This time, however, it goes to Kalinka. Oh my god, a wallbang headshot towards Lucky. That's calculated, baby.
Oh, you wouldn't say that's lucky?
No.
Okay, well, no,
Unlucky for Lucky.
Sheer calculation, and Heretics once again on the man disadvantage now. And I have to say, you know, things are not looking favorable for them. I don't want to call something like perhaps the good old 16... No, not 16-10. Right? No, that's unlikely. Heretics should still have a chance to at least get one round back here, especially with the reserves that they have. And maybe they open up the site well enough now, and it doesn't look like it. There is a trade. Problem does end up getting refragged by Kirishima. Now they can commit to that plant. Kirishima here, though, aggressively going into ruins. And, oh, come on, you can know. That's... You should keep your eyes open for ruins. You can think that a player has definitely rotated through there already.
Well, JR goes down to the AWP of Nevera, who's picked it up after Mecha died. He gets another great flick on towards Flare, but will disregard the shot he missed before. It's now 13-11, and HELLRAISERS are now losing that lead that they are, of course, establishing.
Correct.
And look at their money. They can't buy RJ. That's going to be an eco.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't HELLRAISERS just have a two-man advantage in that round for a moment?
They did indeed, yes.
And where did it go?
No, they died.
It's just not what you want to see, you know. I feel so disappointed and so betrayed, almost. HELLRAISERS, you could have been better. You could have made that the 14-10. What happened? And now you can see them on that eco where it's only a line with an upgraded pistol. They go for the aggressive mid push, you know. You have to try something, and they can at least get one frag out of that. But in the end, rather swiftly by Heretics, that is turned into their 12th round. And now we can see HELLRAISERS playing it out, making sure that their enemy doesn't get on equal footing, on equal ground. And we'll see now if that is actually going to be the case, if HELLRAISERS can provide adequate resistance in this upcoming round, or if it is going to be Heretics now taking that equal ground and going for that 13th round.
Actually quite interesting to see HELLRAISERS spraying down roosters on the floor. Whereas, of course, that's more of a French symbol to come in.
What?
The roosters.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Well, there's a push quite heavily on towards mid. Kalinka gets a two-man spray down. Kirishima gets one in return, but of course they are standing by. This time not with the AWP, however. No. It's a Silence M4, and it works. Apparently there's now only two players remaining for the HELLRAISERS side, or Heretic side rather, sorry. Their names are just so similar.
It's okay.
Well, that's moving in. Great flick on towards Kalinka, and that's just a little bit of over-aggression. You have the two-player lead. Of course, he's a little bit stuck because he was in second mid, and you have to go back to a certain place. But then maybe wait for a flashbang from Flare to help you out. Just flash mid, then go for a peek and try to move somewhere. That didn't really happen. And now we have Mecha and Lucky trying to move towards A, and there's only one player standing there, whereas HELLRAISERS is now currently pushing through Banana.
Yeah, and that is perhaps an interesting tactic, although I do believe it could time well enough. They are pushing quite slowly, though, so they're going to have to get a bit of a move on if it's going to be a problem that might get the frag hit.
No.
Oh, yes, he does. Indeed, Maki goes down already, or Maka even already having quite a bit of low HP, and that leaves only Lucky coming out from Boiler. He peeks, but of course the players on the HELLRAISER side aren't silly enough to actually be there waiting. And now I'll see if JR can hold off the side himself, or if he's going to need that support coming in a moment. Basically the question of, are Heretics going to get the bomb plant at the very least? Or is JR... Oh, that is a sloppy spray, man. Oh, that is just deserved that he got fragged out there.
Pure panic, RJ.
Yeah,
yes,
indeed.
there will be a player now coming from apps, so that might be at least a frag, but the bomb plant still has gone through. At least
Indeed.
there's an easy return frag. AWP being saved by Flarage, and Problem now also getting that defuse in. And, well, it's a round, regardless, 14-12, and that's what matters the most, right, RJ?
Absolutely, you know, in the end you do get the win, well, the round win in there, and that does give HELLRAISERS the 2-round advantage now, and also puts them 2 rounds away from potentially winning the first map in this best of 5. And you like to see it happen. Right now I also believe that, well, this isn't necessarily one of those key rounds, in the sense that Heretics, they still have quite the... well, they still have quite the financial reserve, so if they would lose this round, they can still rebuy decently enough in the next. So in that sense, HELLRAISERS can't really put the pressure on them too hard, but we'll have to see what they do. See if they can actually bring this to a map point for starters, or if maybe, just maybe, Heretics is going to throw back a little bit and make it a nice and close first map.
Do see Nevera going for a little bit of a cheeky peek, trying to contest mid with the rest of his team. They're all grouping up to hopefully topple HELLRAISERS one more time, and then 2 more times after, and 1 more time as well, just to get a map in their favor.
Yeah.
they're now going for possibly a CT push. It's always risky because you don't really know where the CTs will be holding down, but JR!
What?
Completely blind flash all towards back, and that's actually the bomb dropped as well towards mid. Takes down Lucky as well. This might be a map point for HELLRAISERS because, well, look at it. They even have short control as there will be Lime standing by. The bomb has been picked up, of course, by Nivera. And now they have to choose a side, and it seems as if they're choosing towards A, and there's, of course, 3 players on the side. They move up. There's 1 player in Apps. There's 2 now around side, and Kiyoshima. Yeah, that's one player in towards mid, but they just can't deal with it. Only Nivera alive with 2 HP in a 1v4. But he will fall as well to Lime, meaning it's 15-12 RJ. And HELLRAISERS really surprising us. Of course, this is their map pick, so we would expect them to do well.
No, definitely. It's their playground, so to speak. But we'll have to see now. I do think that Heretics, well, I don't know. At times, I feel that their performance isn't strong enough. I have a bit of that lackluster feel that I might have talked about in the past, where you just kind of expect better from the one team, and where they then decide just not really to show up, so to speak.
Well, at least there's a very good full buy on the side of Heretics, but as Nivera already goes rather low, it's going to be Lime taking down XMS in the meantime. And that doesn't really bode all too well for the side of Heretics going into this possible last round of this first map. Now Utility will be flying. Problem goes for yet another spray. He just can't connect just yet, but the damage has been dealt. There has now been a player falling on the Heretics side. And with also Nivera being semi-low, it doesn't really work too well at this moment in time.
Indeed, but we'll have to see. You know, we've seen Heretics win rounds with worse odds. 3-5s, for example. You know, 3 players versus 5, and they still ended up winning that out. So it's not the end of the world. Anything can still happen. But Kalinka's hold is solid. Quite a bit of damage there, and in the end, he frags out Nivera, and that does make it that 3v5 situation that I just highlighted. So we're gonna have to see what that's gonna give. And if that is going to work out now for, well, HELLRAISERS their favor, or if Heretics can still turn this around a little bit.
Well, we're biding our time. We're waiting for things to come through, at least that execute from the Heretic side towards B. 1 kill will go in favor of Kalinka as he loses his teammate, but look at the rotate already coming in. Run from CT, but still towards the exit, and also a player coming from Banana. It will be the opening frag coming in for Heretics, but the time is rather low. Thus, the pressure is on to get a plant. They will get a plant, but Lime, he's already there. He will get the first frag in return. Indeed, it takes quite some time to take down Kiyoshima. At least Maka alive in a 1v3. He almost gets 1. He almost might get 2, but then there will still be a third right, and indeed, Flash is standing in. It's going to be Maka falling 16-12 in favor of the HELLRAISERS side, and they do win this first map. I dare to say, decently convincing.
Decently convincing, you say? Okay, that's an adequate compliment, you know, not too wild or anything, but decent enough.